Okay, does everyone have their homework out in front of them so we can check together? We're making an invitation to a celebration of Gabriella's Nobel Prize for her writing. Okay, so let's look. It says, make an invitation. Gabriela Mistral is a famous writer who won an award for her writing. Gather some details about her life. Okay, so from pages 92 through 95. Does Gabriela Mistral have a good imagination? How can we tell? So let's go and check those pages. Okay, so let's look at these pages 94 and 95. Because when I was a little girl, I lived with my mother and Emelina, my sister, in a small house in the beautiful Elqui Valley in Chile. From my bedroom window, I could see the Andes Mountains. When I couldn't sleep, I would look up at the mountains and wonder what could be beyond them. Zebras with polka dots, rainbow-colored flowers, angels reading books. So from this page, what can we say about Gabriela Mistral? Do we think she has a good imagination? Neymar, what do you think? Do you say Gabriela Mistral has a good imagination or not so good?
Gabriela has a good imagination.
Okay, she has a good imagination. So how do you know this, Neymar? What evidence from the text tells us that she does have a good imagination? What are some things that she thinks about?
She could see the Andes Mountain.
Okay, so remember, imagination is things that you make up in your mind. So what are some of the things that she's made up in her mind? What would she think about when she couldn't sleep? So it's on this paragraph here, page 95. What kinds of things does she think about?
Zebra with polka dots.
Okay, good job. So zebras with polka dots. That's one thing that she wondered about. Okay. Goku, what's another thing she wondered about?
She wondered about rainbow colored flower.
Rainbow colored flowers. Okay, good job. That's another thing she wonders about. And Lily, what else?
Angels reading books.
Angels reading books. Okay, so these are all clues that tell us, yes, Gabriela Mistral does have a good imagination. Because she thinks about these different things. Okay, so on pages 100 and 101, Gabriela Mistral liked to play school. Was she a good teacher? So let's go back to those two pages. Okay, so here's where it talks about Gabriela being a pretend teacher. So was she a good pretend teacher? David, what do you think?
Yes.
Yes, how do we know?
Because she likes to be a teacher when she grown up.
We're talking about when she was a pretend teacher. Was she good at it?
Yeah.
How do we know?
One is she told Petro the what is important. Alphabet.
Okay, so one of the things was that she told Pedro that the ABC, the alphabet was important. Okay. Anything else? Who else has another idea for us? Harry Kane? How else do we know that Gabriela Mistral was a good pretend teacher? What else did she do with her pretend class? On page 101, what else would they do in their pretend class?
Sang songs.
Okay. So her pretend class also sang songs together. All right, good job. Okay, so now says, read pages 103 and 107. Did Gabriela Mistral have a good imagination when she grew up? How can you tell? So let's go back to page 103. So it says, when I grew up, I became a real teacher and writer. I taught the children of Chile, and many of my students became teachers themselves. I still wrote poems, happy poems, sad poems, stories of mothers and children. But I also wrote poems about animals, about parrots and peacocks and even rats. All right, so do we think Gabriela Mistral has a good imagination still? Ronaldo? Ronaldo, can you hear me?
Yes,
Do you think Gabriela has a good imagination still?
I
Even
think
you think yes, okay, she does. How can you tell from this page here? What does she still do?
yes, she still do the teacher.
She's a teacher, okay, but what about to show that she has good imagination? What did she still do? Ronaldo, do you see it?
Yes,
Can you read it out loud, please?
she still writes poems.
Poems, okay, so we'll say Gabriela had a good imagination as an adult. She still wrote poems. Okay, and then let's go to page 107. Okay, and then on page 107, my stories traveled the world with me. People liked to read my happy stories, my sad stories, my stories of women and children, my stories of parrots and peacocks, of old lions and of the fisher folk who slept in the sand and dreamt of the sea. So what can we say here? How do we know that Gabriela has a good imagination still? Cherry, are you there?
Yes,
Okay, what can we say from this page? Does she still have a good imagination?
yes.
How can you tell? What does she still do?
She still read a book.
Is she reading the books or is she writing the books?
Writing the book.
Yep, so she's still writing stories, right? So we can say that yes, she has a good imagination as an adult. She still wrote poems and stories. Okay, so these are our answers for page 1 here, or page 38. So I'll send these home so you can check at home. Okay, so now let's talk about our invitation here. So we need to think, what do we think Gabriela will tell her friends about her life? So she's going to give us a short talk. Tom, what do you think she's going to talk about?
She want to talk about. She want to talk about her friend
She would tell us about her friends.
and her brother and sister and mother.
Is this what she's going to tell us about, or is this the people she's talking to?
She would tell us that.
Okay, let's look at pages 104 and 106. Okay, so 104 says that I also traveled to faraway places. I never saw zebras with polka dots or rainbow-colored flowers, but I met wonderful children and their teachers. I traveled to Europe, to France, and Italy. I traveled to Mexico. I traveled to the United States. Everywhere I went, I wrote and taught and met teachers. I saw how all over the world people wanted their children to learn. So Tom, what might she want to tell us about from those pages?
She want to tell about sad stories, the story of women and children, story of parrot and peacock, and old lion and the fisher folk who slept in the sand and dreamed of the sea.
Okay, so we know from pages 104 through 106, did Gabriela Mistral, what did she do on those pages? Where did she go? Did she stay in Chile or did she travel to many countries?
Many countries.
Okay, so maybe she would tell us that she traveled to many
Many countries.
countries. Okay, and what did she see when she traveled?
She see many buildings and many children.
Okay, and she saw how all over the world people wanted.
to get children to learn.
Okay, good job, Tom. She saw that people wanted their children to learn. Okay, good job. Okay, so instead of a gift for Gabriella, please bring a gift for her local, for the local school. So what kinds of things might we bring for a school? Okay, Harry Kane, what might you bring for a local school?
She might bring knowledge.
Nope. If you were going to this party, what would you bring to give to a local school?
Party.
What would you bring for a school?
Bring a gift. A gift for new playground.
Bring a new playground. Okay, well, let's think. What are some things that are important to Gabriella? What might she want you to bring for a school?
Books.
Okay, so bring books. Very good. Who else has another idea for us? Katie, what else could we bring?
I think we can bring chairs and table for more students.
Okay, so we'll say desks and chairs. Okay, what else should we bring? Let's see. Tom, what else should we bring? What did Gabriella think was important? So we know she thought reading was important, so we should bring books. And she also thought writing was important. So what else do we need to write?
Pencil.
Pencils. Anything else?
Pen.
Pens. Anything else?
Eraser.
Erasers. Anything else?
I don't know.
Well, what are we going to write on? Am I going to write on my arm?
It have a book.
And we'll say notebooks. Okay.
A book.
All right, good job. Okay, does anyone have any questions about our homework today? Myth, do you have anything else to add? Myth, do you have anything to add? You had your hand raised.
No.
No? Okay. All right, so let's move on to understanding characters. So, character traits are aspects of a person's behavior. So how a person acts can tell us about them. All right, we can say, is this a kind person? Is this an honest person? Is this a mean person, a generous person? Okay, so how people act, what they say, how they feel, those can all give us clues to what kind of person they are. So paying attention to what characters say, feel, and do can help you understand their traits. So we're going to look at a few different character traits now and see if we can guess from the pictures what kind of traits or what words we can use to describe them. Okay, so let's look at our first one here. Our first picture on the left. We have a person wearing glasses and it says next to them IQ. Can anyone give me a word that might describe this person? Cherry.
Smart.
And what is your clue that this person would be smart?
IQ.
IQ, right? That's a special test we take to see how our brain works. Okay, so we could call this person smart. Okay, let's look at our next one. What do we think? We have a bunch of pictures that look like gears moving together. So what could we say about this person? Can anyone take a guess? Aisha, do you have any ideas for us? How might you describe this person? So I have a picture of a bunch of different gears working together. So what could we say about this person? Do you have any ideas, Aisha?
No.
This one might be a bit tricky. We'll say original, someone who thinks of new ideas. Their brain, we'll say the
What?
gears are in their brain. The gears are always moving, always working. They're coming up with new ideas. Okay, what about our next picture? So actually, I'm going to give you this one as well. Do you see all these different things that this person is thinking about?
Yes.
How could we describe this person?
Imagination.
Yep, maybe having a good imagination or creative. When you're creative, you normally have good imagination to think of a lot of different things or wonder about a lot of different things. Okay, what about our next person with the magnifying glass? Say, Hangan, how might we describe this person?
Hold something.
Yep, they're holding a magnifying glass. Maybe they ask a lot of questions or want to find out more about things.
Yes.
How could we describe that person? What word can we use? Can you think of a word that talks about wanting to know more or asking many questions?
Ask a question.
Say, Meridana, do you have an idea for us?
Serious.
Curious, okay? Someone wants to know more or they're always asking questions. You can say that they are curious. Good job. Okay, what about our next person here? This is a person that's thinking a lot, full of thought. Lisa, do you have any ideas for us? If someone is always thinking or is full of thought.
Imagination.
Okay, maybe. Say, Katie, do you have another word for us?
Yes. Thoughtful.
Okay, maybe thoughtful. If you think about other people, or you can like look around and think, you know, what's happening with everyone, you could be described as thoughtful. Okay, and what about our last one? What do we think? Jenna, do you have a word to describe our last person here? So they have an eye on their chest. Maybe they're able to see how actions would make other people feel. Maybe they care about how other people feel. How would you describe that person? If someone cares about how you feel, would they be a kind or mean person?
Be kind.
They'd be a kind person. So we could say that this person is kind or maybe caring, right? They think about how you might feel when certain things happen. Okay, so these are some good examples of character traits. Okay, we have smart, original, creative, curious, thoughtful, and caring. So by looking at the things that people do, what they say, what they think, and how they feel, we can determine what kind of person they are or what kind of character traits describe them. Okay, so let's look at, we're gonna look at a character trait of Gabriela Mistral. Okay, so we're gonna say that she is helpful. Okay, so let's look back at our story, and I want us to think about what kinds of things, what does she think that makes us, or that lets us know she's helpful? What does she say that lets us know she's helpful? And what does she feel, or what does she do that lets us know she is a helpful person? Okay, can anyone give me any answers now, or does anyone have any ideas? James? Do you know of anything Gabriela Mistral said, did, thought, or felt that would tell us that she's helpful?
No.
No. What did she do? What did she pretend to do when she was a child?
She pretend to be a teacher.
Okay, and she wanted to help her friends to do what?
She want to help her friend.
So if she was a teacher, she wanted to help her friends to, you remember, James? What do teachers help other people to do?
A teacher help other people to study things.
And what did Gabriela want to help her friends study?
Poems.
Say again?
Poems.
Okay. says, Pedro would always say that I was mean because I made him write his ABCs until he knew all the letters of the alphabet. But I told him that the alphabet is important. How else would he create words and tell his stories without it? So what did she help Pedro do or to learn?
She helped Pedro learn about the alphabet.
Okay, so she helped her friends learn the alphabet. Does that tell us that she is that she's helpful?
Yes.
Yes, so that is one thing that she does that is helpful. Okay, what else can we say? How else do we know that she was helpful? Maradona, do you have any ideas for us? Okay, let's go back. Okay, so when she grew up, she became a real teacher. And what did she do as a real teacher?
Teach the student.
Okay, so we'll say she became a real teacher and taught the children of Chile. Okay, so that's another way that we know she is helpful. Okay, so those are some ways that we know that she's helpful, right? All right, so let's do another example. Okay, so now I'm going to give us 3 pieces of evidence, and we need to figure out the character trait. Okay, so we know that Gabriela Mistral taught children. She told Pedro that learning the alphabet was important. And she taught herself how to read. So what can we say from these 3 things that she did? David, what do you think? How can we describe her knowing these 3 facts?
She is original and she is a good, thoughtful. And she,
Right, so we know that she taught children. She told Pedro that learning the alphabet's important, and she taught herself how to read. So what could we say about someone if they teach himself or herself how to read?
she is a helpful teacher.
Okay, but this is talking about herself.
She is thoughtful.
She's thoughtful to herself. See if we can come up with a different word. So, Neymar, what do you think? How could we describe her?
She helped Pedro to learn.
Mm-hmm. So do we think that she is a very lazy person or hardworking person?
Hardworking.
Okay, so let's look at our clues and see if it matches. So if someone tells you that learning the alphabet is important, do you think a hardworking person would tell you that, Cherry, or a lazy person?
Hard work.
Hardworking. Okay, so that's a good one. Let's say Ronaldo. If someone taught herself how to read, is that an example of hardworking or lazy?
Hardworking.
Hardworking. Okay. And Alex, if a teacher who teaches children, is that a hardworking person or a lazy person?
Hardworking.
Hardworking. So, using our clues here, we can say that Gabriela Mistral is hardworking. All right, let's look quickly at this page here before we do our quizzes. Okay, so we have our picture of the things that Gabriela wondered about, and then the paragraph. When I couldn't sleep, I would look up at the mountains and wonder what could be beyond them. Zebras with polka dots, Rainbow-colored flowers, angels reading books. So I want us to think about why did the author write this paragraph? So Courage, are you there?
Yes.
What are some things that Gabriela Mistral wondered about?
She wondered what could be predict them.
And what kinds of things did she think about?
Rainbow red flower.
Okay, rainbow-colored flowers are one thing. Good job. And Myth, what's another thing that she thought about?
Rainbow color flower and read books.
Angels reading books. Okay, good job. And Khangan, what else did she think about?
She
We have rainbow-colored flowers, angels reading books, and what else?
and zebra with polka dots.
Okay, so she also thought about zebras with polka dots. So knowing these three things, why do we think the author wrote this paragraph, Lily?
To show that she was
What do we think? We have zebras with polka dots, rainbow-colored flowers, and angels reading books. What's the author wanting to explain to us?
she was
Think about our character traits that we just talked about. These are some examples of, these are some clues that tell us what kind of character trait does Gabriela have. Should we go back to our character traits?
Yep.
Good. Here we go. Choose one. Smart, original, creative, curious, thoughtful, caring.
Thoughtful.
So thoughtful is like when you think about other people's feelings.
Oh no. Creative.
Yep. So we can say the author wanted to show us that Gabriela was creative, right? So these are some things that creative people and people that have big imaginations think of. So that was creative and had a big imagination. Okay. Does anyone have questions about what we talked about today? Okay, any questions about today? No?
No.
Okay, so for homework, you're going to fill out a Google Forms sheet. I will send it home today. Okay, so you're going to need to use examples from the text to tell how you know Gabriela has different character traits. So the first one's going to be creative. Okay, so use an example from the text to tell how you know that she's creative, how you know she's kind, and how you know she's a good teacher. Okay, so I want actual examples from your Journeys book. Okay, does anyone have questions about how to do the homework?
No.
No? All right, let's do our quizzes.